Today on Locked On Cardinals Squad Show, ESPN has released their list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Kyler Murray was not on it. What does he need to do to get back on that list? As well as, I think we're going to have a little bit of a debate here. Is it a make or break year for not just Kyler Murray, but Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort as well? Talk about it all next.
Rise up, Red Sea. It's the Cardinals Squad. Sponsored by Game Time. Everything Arizona Cardinals every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Valley of the Sun. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Gear up and squad up. The Cardinals Squad Show starts now.
What is up? Welcome in to the Arizona Cardinals Locked On Squad Show. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals Squad Show your first listen here on this beautiful Tuesday. Don't forget the Locked On Cardinals Squad Show is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button and do what thousands of other Cardinals fans have already done, become an everydayer. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for your $20 off your first purchase. Joining me today is Alex Clancy from your regularly scheduled Locked On Cardinals show, as well as former NFL offensive lineman Jamil Douglas and Super Bowl champion Jamil Douglas. Can't forget that. What's up, fellas? How we doing?
How we doing, man? Doing good.
Sorry. I thought you're gonna. That was just really quick by you, Clancy. Nobody, you got a lot of things to say. I'm assuming it's because you and I are going to disagree a bit. I'm assuming more so in the second segment and the first segment. But I think something that we'll all find a decent amount of common ground on is this. ESPN released its top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL yesterday. And surprise, surprise, Kyler Murray wasn't on the list. And the list was as followed: Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud, and Jordan Love. Not really surprised that Kyler Murray is not on the list, but I will start with you, Clancy, because I know you saw this list as well. What does Kyler Murray have to do to get back on even the conversation midway through the season to be able to be seen as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL?
Win. Next segment. I mean, I feel, here's the thing. Like, in the NFL now, there's four dudes, then there's everybody else. Lamar, Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes in some form or fashion. We'll see if Jalen Hurts wins another, whatever. Like, Jaden Daniels being on this list is banana sandwich to me. Being 5 after one season. Like, this is
on the list or at 5?
At 5. If he can do it again, then we can have a conversation. CJ Stroud looked very, very pedestrian compared to his rookie year when there was a full year offseason of tape for defensive coordinators to watch and snack on. Kyler Murray's not good enough to be a top 10 player. What Kyler Murray is good enough to be is have a top 10 ceiling more than he's got a ceiling higher than a chunk of those dudes in that top 10. But his floor, that's what 2025 is about. It's the floor. So how does he get in the top 10? They win 12 games, they win a playoff game, and he's an MVP consideration for the majority of the season.
Oh, I was waiting for you, Jamil. I thought you had something to say.
I do have something to say, actually.
Let's hear it.
I think, obviously, it's win. We talked about that last week. Winning cures all.
Sure.
But also, it's just availability. At the end of the day, he's been hurt. We haven't seen him really kind of be durable, and I think that's another biggest thing. We got to get him, playing 17 games, and I don't think they got it wrong with Jaden Daniels on that list. Just to kind of combat with Clancy a little bit. I think 17 games is enough film to figure out what a guy is doing, what a guy isn't doing. So I will put him. Here's my thing: who would we exchange for Jaden Daniels, or who would we exchange for Kyler Murray?
I think it's hard for me to argue anymore that Kyler Murray is right now a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. There is really not much to suggest he is. What I would turn the conversation more towards, because I get the Jaden Daniels thing. Every year we have a new quarterback that we just like to prop up. And last year was Stroud. This year it's Daniels. Next year it'll be, I don't know, Caleb Williams. That's just what we do in the media. Mm-hmm. what I think is more prevalent is interesting to what Clancy said. What's the floor for Kyler? Because way too often it swings one way or the other. And the inconsistency, either you're getting a 2021 first half version of Kyler Murray or you're getting 2024 second half version of Kyler Murray. Clancy, I guess I would ask you, what do you think Kyler's floor is? And then what do you think it has to be?
It's wild because I'm still talking about this year 7. It's like he'll do, he'll go bonkers and have pushing 400 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns twice a year, over under 1.5, over under 2.5, whatever it is. And then he'll have his 19 for 24 for 140 yards and an interception. And it's like, when it comes down to it for me, even though he can be a stat stuffer extraordinaire, the floor is the wins. I don't care what the numbers look like anymore. There's no metrics necessary to determine on if he's having a good year or not. It's wins. That's it. And I know that it's a team game, and I know that wins aren't a quarterback stat. For him in 2025, they are. So the floor has to be 9 wins. The ceiling has to be, I mean, if you told me they won 12 games next year, I wouldn't be shocked. But the floor for me is win-loss. It is not predicated upon the numbers he puts up in 2025, which is kind of weird, but I don't care anymore about the numbers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's wins too. I think he has to be known for winning. I think he has to show up in big games against other big-time quarterbacks. When we start to see that consistently out of him, then you can kind of, start to move him up into that top 10. Is he top 15? I don't know. But I think wins is the main factor.
But Ben, let me ask you this, because I want your thoughts on this. So we talk about, is Kyler Murray the dude for the Cardinals? It's like, okay, get rid of him. So much, half the contingent's like, never should have drafted him, should have been Nick Bosa, get rid of him from day one, regardless of what happens. So when I'm looking at Kyler Murray, Jamil, as a 13th or 14th best quarterback in the NFL, the bottom 5 are a lot worse and the top 5 are great. Like, if you don't have a quarterback, you're effed. Like, so if you have the 14th best quarterback in the NFL, it's like, hug him. Do not let him go. And I know it's the Kirk Cousins effect. I'd rather have Kirk Cousins in Minnesota than Tyson Bagent in Chicago. It's like before Caleb Williams, It's like, you played with Ryan Tannehill, Jamil. He was right in the middle the entirety of his career. Yeah. He peaked with the 1 seed, but he was perfectly 12 to 15 his entire career. And you win a boatload of games.
Yeah.
So Ben, that's why. Is 14 good enough? That's when I see this list.
Well, it depends. What did you see Jalen Hurts as before last year? And what did you see Brock Purdy as 2 years ago? I think now the NFL world is starting to catch up that Brock Purdy is more of the middle of the pack quarterback than he is a top tier quarterback, which is totally okay. But that should be the blueprint for you. Yeah. I mentioned this yesterday when I went on the herd. It was, can Kyler Murray be good enough to where you surround enough talent around him and be Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy level of consistent? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I understand I would lose every argument right now saying Kyler Murray's as good of a quarterback as Jalen Hurts, but that's a hill I'd be willing to die on. It's, can Kyler, we've seen Kyler Murray as the captain of the ship. It goes down every single time, Titanic style. But when you put a bunch of things around him, can he help supplement that? Can he be the co-captain? That is we have to put away this idea that each and every year, because we have Kyler Murray as our quarterback, we will not be every single year title contenders. It's not going to be the case. We don't have the big 4. Here's the caveat to that. Literally only 4 teams have the big 4. So the way you're going to win a Super Bowl is putting everything around him similar to that, and you get a similar to, you had mentioned, a Ryan Tannehill year where he just goes off and it has a good year, but it's not going to be a consistent thing where you're going for a title. You got to be strategic with it, and you got to put a bunch of things around him. And so that's where I would go with Kyler, man. Jamil, do you disagree at all? Is there a quarterback out there that reminds you of Kyler that you played with? That you're like, hey, we stacked the deck for him, and this is what happened?
No. There's no one out there that I can really. The only thing I can attest to is that year with Ryan Tannehill, things were really simplified from a standpoint of what we were doing. It was run, play action. When we got down in games, that's when it got ugly. because we were out of our system. But when we could stay within the system, and it was very simple, it's one high or two high. Hey, if it's too high, we're throwing the play action over the top. If it's one high, we're running the ball. We don't care who's in the box. And you also have Derrick Henry, which makes things a lot easier. And you had an A.J. Brown, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think it's, yes, you got to put a good team around Kyler because he's not just going to take over a game, but also I think simplifying things for him from a standpoint of, hey, take what the defense gives you, manage the game, and then give your team a situation to where you can win the game late. That's what a lot of NFL games are. Right. Winning the game late, you're in the game because you made smart plays. You're not going to blow anyone out, rarely, but that's what you want. That's the type of games you want to be in.
Yeah, the thing that has been lacking severely from this organization that Kyler Murray took over was victory formation. Like, okay, you're up 3 points with 2 minutes left. The other team has 3 timeouts. With Cliff Kingsbury, it was a 34-second drive every single time. It was never a first down, play action, peel out from a tight end, victory formation. They're not in that punt formation a lot, man. Like, they're not. And that's on Kyler Murray. They've had plenty of times. Like, they've won games. They've come back. They've kicked field goals. But it's like, when you're up 6 points with 1:45 and you have to get 2 first downs, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that Jamil was talking about, which is interesting, is like, people will cheapen Kyler Murray because, you got to put everything around him. Name one Super Bowl team that didn't have a couple of pros on there. It's like, what are we doing? Even with Tom Brady, it's like LeGarrette Blount, James White, they had the anchors in the backfield. They had the best offensive line in football. They had a great front seven. Like, Tom Brady didn't need wide receivers because he had the best defense in football for years, and he had a great run game, a great system, and he was able to just be that elite game manager who got it done on 3rd and 8 when you needed to. Right?
What worries? I get the point you're trying to make. What worries me about Kyler is he's so supremely gifted, and no, I don't give a damn about his collegiate and high school years, but he had a pretty damn successful collegiate and high school upbringing to where I think thinks he's better than he actually is. He's supremely athletic. He's insanely accurate. I just worry if he's able to accept the game manager role, because too many times, especially in his rookie season, but it's gotten a little bit better since then, is he makes the wrong boneheaded play, whether it's running into a sack, running out of bounds backwards, or throwing a horrendous interception against the Vikings directly to Byron Murphy on the road when you're up 2 scores. Like, it's doing too much. And I don't think when you have a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, like Jamil's played with, or someone of that caliber, I think they understood that they were game managers. I think Jalen Hurts takes that well. I even think Brock Purdy takes it well. I wonder if Kyler, who is more athletic and gifted than both those guys, can handle that role. I seriously think it's an issue for him.
One quick thing with that is Jalen Hurts, the Eagles threw the ball the least amount of anybody in football last year. So Jalen Hurts relies on Saquon Barkley, relies on his legs a lot more than a 2025 quarterback would. And they get away with it. They've got the best offensive line in football. Like, it's easy for them to do that. They throw the ball 21 times a game. You can't compare Jalen Hurts to any other system because he's not a volume thrower. And I don't think Kyler Murray thinks he's anything other than he is. He makes 3 bonehead interception throws where he sails it across the middle every year. Other than that, he's pretty efficient. But you're right. Like, the self-editing, like, there's genius in the crazy. Like, he makes plays that nobody else would make, and you got to take both when it comes to that. But inopportune pick sixes, he has a proclivity to do that from time to time.
Yeah, I'm thinking about early on in Baker Mayfield's career where Baker did the same thing. But, Baker went through the ringer. He was, sent to the Rams where he won that game, Sean McVay, and he spent, all this time kind of refining his game. And it seems though Baker has swallowed his ego from a standpoint of like, I now understand what it takes to win an NFL game. And you see that in his play in Tampa Bay. He makes the right throw. He's not reckless. There's at times where, it's Baker Mayfield. He gets a little dangerous, but he manages the game well. Yeah. And I think that's what I could compare it to. If Kyler can do it how Baker Mayfield has kind of revamped his career, then that's all you got to do is manage the game and get your team in position to win.
What would you do if you were the Cardinals, Jamil? If you were in like if you're in team meetings, offensive, obviously, what would your game plan be weekly for Kyler? Is it similar to the Jalen Hurts game plan, or is it like throw the ball over the middle, give it to James Garner? We kind of talked off air last week. What would you do?
Well, it's tough because he doesn't have the same running game as a Jalen Hurts, So we're looking at it from a standpoint of what can they do well. I think you have to establish an identity with the Cardinals. Like we know on defense they want to run and hit, but what is their identity on offense? Is it the run, play, action? Are we gonna master in the zone read? Are we gonna get out? Are we gonna run outside zone, inside? Like, what is it? I think you have to give him a real clear blueprint as to what you're trying to be on offense, and then go from there. From there, you can start utilizing the talent that you have around you. But when I watch them, I don't really know what the identity, I can't really pinpoint what is the identity of this offense. When stuff goes bad, who is this offense? That's my question.
I'll tell you what goes offense. I'm offended by what you just said. Thank you, Jamil. What are we doing here? That slurp is going a way different level at this point. So,
Locked on bosses are calling us, man.
I'm going to answer your question. What the disconnect is? The run game and the pass game don't work off each other. They're separate entities, and I think it's fascinating the way you say that. It's like he could be that missing spark. Like, you know what? It's not just because it could be his last year. It's not just because, the offense hasn't done as well as it did in 2021. He's the most electric player on either side of the field for the Cardinals. Use him more. Like, it's not running the ball. It's not necessarily that. It's RPO with 2 pass options where you've got a pass play that looks like an RPO. Put the ball in Kyler Murray's hands. I call it the plays in the gray, where he just does it. He looks down the field. They got plenty of options who can get open. Just let him touch the ball more, and either it's going to work or it's going to fail miserably, but at least you're going to know who your quarterback is for the future. Like, the offense doesn't work together. Yeah. They're 2 completely different entities.
Could we agree that if Kyler's around the mark of Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts last year in the rankings, is he good enough to win a Super Bowl? Because I think he is, but everything has to go well.
Yeah. If you told me 2 years ago Jalen Hurts was going to win a Super Bowl, I would have said, I'll smoke what you're smoking. I mean,
well, what if I told you 3 years ago Brock Purdy would be to 2 Super Bowls?
Well, you told me Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams is healthy with Nick Bosa and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk. Like, that's an easier sell for me. Because Jalen Hurts, lest we forget, his freshman year in Alabama could not throw a football. It was him and Bo Scarborough in the backfield. It was 2 running backs. One just happened to play quarterback. So his evolution as a ball thrower is absolutely insane. But anybody can win a Super Bowl, man. You got to get the bounces. The rest of your team's got to play well, but I don't think you can compare anybody to the Eagles right now.
All right, Jamil, I'm ready for the hard truth.
Man, I don't know.
It sounds like you know. I don't
see it. I don't see it.
That's fair. It's a good cop-out answer.
But it could be tarnished by just all the things, like for me, what it takes to get there, and from what I've seen, I feel like it's a mountain that takes a special want to get there. And I don't know if
you're not alone.
There's a lot of people. I just don't know.
How many quarterbacks can win a Super Bowl that are starting out of 32 right now? Genuinely. Like, could Justin Herbert win a Super Bowl? Could Trevor Lawrence win a Super Bowl? Could Kirk Cousins? Could Michael Penix? Could all of these dudes that aren't the top 4 win a Super Bowl? Like, I guess Jalen Hurts is one of them because he's not. But it's like, how many actually could? So that's not a defense. Sorry?
You talk about Michael Penix. Like Michael Penix, to me, I'm much more like, that would be interesting.
The dude's got horse tendons in his knees, bro. He's got no tendons left.
I'm saying from a thrower of the football standpoint.
Yeah.
Listen, it's hard to go after Jamil because I know he watched these guys, but I also have to stand Clancy here and be like, I don't get that either. I don't get the
He can't control his knees. He can't. He doesn't.
We're not saying he can. We're just saying it's.
He would have fallen on that ball in the Super Bowl after being voted number one. I'll tell you what.
All right. The segment has officially gone off the rails. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on, guys. Let's go over to Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort. We know Kyler Murray has got a make or break season upon him. Do JG and Monty Osfort also feel the same? I know Clancy doesn't feel that way, but it'll be fun to argue about it next. First, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster than ever, and prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off their killer last-minute deals. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I'm not a big concert guy. My wife definitely is. If she would have bought her tickets to Taylor Swift on Game Time, she would have saved me a grip of cash. But she didn't do that. But you know what I did? When I went and saw Blink-182 a couple of years ago, it was like the only concert I've been to in the last decade. I actually did this exact same thing. I waited until it got closer to showtime for me to be able to buy my tickets, got them way cheaper than they were going for at face value. So go ahead, check out Game Time. It is a perfect scenario for you to be able to get your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So just so we're being fair, before I set up this next segment, the only reason why we're doing this segment is because I just want to push the buttons of Mr. Alex Clancy at least a little bit as I shuffle these two around. We know it's a make or break season for Kyler Murray in some senses. Maybe he's back next year. Alex Clancy, he likes to hold on to top 20 quarterbacks as hard as he can. But Monty Osfort and Jonathan Gannon. I saw someone tweet this out, Arizona media member who, may get under the deal with someone that not a lot of people get a lot of joy out of. And then it would start a little bit of a debate. Monty Osfort, Jonathan Gannon. Is it a make or break season for these guys? Let me paint you a picture really quickly before you guys just both say no. For the most part, I would agree. There is no world where Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort are losing their jobs. However, and I already know what you guys are going to say this, and I've got to come back for it. So go ahead, prep it. There is a world where if everything goes haywire, things go amok, the Cardinals win 4 games, then I do see a change in regime potentially happening. And I think it's important to remember where we were just a few short years ago, after the Cardinals went to the playoffs, saying Steve Keim needed to be gone, saying Cliff Kingsbury needed to be gone. I'll start with Clancy and I'll go to Jamil. Is there any way Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort are coaching and GMing for their jobs? Well, you're so eager to talk to us, you left your mic off.
I'm 2 for 2, baby. I'm all about streaks here. I'm all about streaks. Let's do it. So, no, but this is the reason why. One of the things that I've said since Monty Osfort, Jonathan Gannon took over was, how you have that friend growing up who'd come over when you were young, he'd play with all your toys and then leave without helping you clean up. Everybody had a friend like that. That's what Steve Keim did for the Arizona Cardinals for Monty Osfort. Okay, so this being a 3-year rebuild, Monty Osfort is in line to be GM of the year this year if the Cardinals win 10+ games. Jonathan Gannon is on the outside looking in to be coach of the year if the Cardinals win 11 games. So the Cardinals, the reason why I say no is, if you told me one of the two things happened, the Cardinals won 10+ games and Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osfort both won coach and GM of the year respectively, or if they won 5 games or less and they both got canned, I would pick coach of the year 100 times out of 100. So if that's the case, how can they be on the hot seat also? I don't see this team winning 6 games unless there's this cataclysmic, injury bug that goes around the entire year. This roster's too good. Regardless of how well Kyler Murray plays, this roster's too good for that to happen. So that's why, rationally speaking, I say no.
Jamil?
Yeah, I'm going to say that the seat is not hot yet, but I think this year is the year that can either start or stop those conversations. You know, you have a year like you did last year where, first half of the season, there's a lot of potential. Then the last half, after the bye week, things just kind of go haywire. Then I think those conversations will pop up. I think that Monty Osfort has done a great job in building the roster out and kind of creating the vision. He obviously knows ball. I spent time with Monty in New England. He was I don't know what his position was. He was a young guy there. He was nowhere close to being a GM, but I know that he knows what it looks like and feels like to build a good team just off of being in those buildings. So I don't think it's hot just yet. I think that, people obviously want to see the team be competitive throughout the whole year and be in those close games and win those close games. I think if that doesn't happen, then there's a conversation to be had.
I don't know how many kind of conversations you've had with Monty, but
0. He never spoke to me once. But
he wasn't interested in talking to you. Okay, good.
No, he wasn't. He was very mysterious when he was in New England. That's kind of the vibe around the building. You don't know who is who. You don't know if this guy's a cook or if he's you don't know if he's a cook or if he's a GM. You know what I'm saying? So he was.
Well, the GM was on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and probably to get good as a GM, you just do the opposite of whatever Belichick would do. I think and that's been really like a great thing for him moving forward.
100%. And he also came to Tennessee for a little bit while I was in Tennessee.
Right. Yeah.
Never said a word there either. He was just very, stood in the back, kind of stood by the goalpost, watched practice, but that he understands ball just the way that he's moved throughout his career.
Let me ask you this. And then I want to get into my next point, but I am curious. Do the players know when a coach and a GM or both are on the hot seat? And can you feel that? Like going into year 3, yeah. I understand if you can feel it, the players probably can't because it doesn't feel like either of those guys could be gone. But do they feel that at all?
Yeah, the players know because the coaches can tell, it's no secret. Like the coaches know that. I mean, let's get it straight. Every year coaches are coaching for their job, that's just the reality of the NFL. Now, obviously you got coaches that are safer than others, but when you're in a position of kind of rebuilding a team, that like between 3 and 4 years is kind of that window. You see it with the Giants right now with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. Like they're in that same kind of weird area. Now they bought themselves time because they drafted Jackson Dart, but that's another conversation. But yeah, the players know, man. The players can feel the urgency from the coaches, and depending on the reputation of the coach and the GM, which those guys have good reputations, like players want to win for coaches and GMs like that. Like they don't want to let those guys down. Like they're grateful that those guys are there and they understand that they're there to help them, but they want to win for guys like that.
So let me ask you a question. This is what with Locked On Cardinals, we talk about things 2 years before other people do. It's just they call me Clanstradamus. It just happens. Okay. This is the conversation. This is the question. And you're going to laugh at me now, but we're going to have this conversation at some point at the end of this season if things don't work. If you were to pick one, Jonathan Gannon, Kyler Murray, or Monty Osfort, if you were to straw poll, I'm taking Monty Osfort 1,000 times out of 100. Like for the future, like if you had to pick one at the end of this season, I'm picking Monty. And let me explain. Roster construction, as you mentioned, Jamil, is more important than anything. If you take this roster and you fire JG and you get rid of Kyler, the line will be 31 dudes long to get in here to coach this team, especially defensive-minded head coach. Not 30, but, there's going to be a lot of dudes. There's going to be a lot of guys, veterans, young players alike, that'd be interested in quarterbacking this offense. So that's what Monty Osfort has built in 3 short years from a Chernobyl-like organization to something that looks completely rational. Like, if you had to pick one of the three, is that seemingly the obvious choice if the trends continue the way they go?
Yeah, I mean, just given the track record right now, like I said, he's built this roster in a way that you can see the vision that he has. He's tried to, put weapons on the field for Kyler. They've addressed the defense. I agree with you at the end of the day. I think it's a hard conversation to have, but yeah, you have to go with the guy who's constructed the roster with so many, talented players.
What do you think, Ben? Like, I know that it's kind of an abstract thought right now, but if we're going to be fluid with this, Monty Osfort has the least chance of losing his job. I think that's safe to say.
No, I think it's JG. I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it's Monty. I think it's close between those two. Like, if we're picking hairs that Monty Osfort doesn't have, I am still.
I'll be there soon.
Well, he looks like he's a better looking, more in shape, sober Steve Keim, and actually understands football. I'm not holding back on that, Jamil. That is the first of many Steve Keim drinking and driving jokes that I'm going to make, because it's always about he was drinking and driving, then he cut Michael Floyd for doing the same thing.
2021 for joke back.
Yeah, no. So you're the worst. I think for me, it's more so like Monty Osfort. It was TBD on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they had the 4th overall pick, and I thought there was a mature decision to be made, and I thought there was a fun decision to be made. And the mature decision, I thought, was taking Joe Alt, having 2 bookend tackles, and go trading for a wide receiver anywhere, because that happens all the time. I mean, Tyreek Hill won a Super Bowl, and then the Chiefs said, yeah, we're good, we'll just trade you. Deebo Samuel was just traded. Stephon Diggs was just traded. Like, it happens all the time. T. Higgins was on the block. Jamar Chase might have been able to been had if you gave up the right amount of picks for it. TBD, like, I still think he's a good drafter. I don't know if he's a great drafter, and I think that's what would separate me from being like, oh, I can find a lot of good drafters ever. I don't know if I can find a lot of great ones. I think ultimately, like, all I'll say is, in like you mentioned before, Clancy, there's no way this team doesn't win 6 games. I don't know what team you've been watching for the last 20-something years, because this team loses a lot less than 6 games all the time. And I don't mean that to come after you, because I do get what you're trying to say. However, I don't want anyone to feel like there's not a little bit of pressure, just a little bit of pressure under everyone's ass this year. Everyone should have it. Kyler should have the most. JG and Monty should have a little. And even if that's just knowing, if this year doesn't go well, next year the seat is going to get hot. That's my only point. I just don't want anyone going in to feel like, no pressure here. We're the Arizona Cardinals. We haven't won a division in 10 years. Let's turn it up just a little. That's where I would go towards.
I think the initial stance from the person who remained nameless actually produced his show 5 or 6 years ago, and they made 7 breaks in there for a reason. I'm not going to go any more in depth than that, but it's July and we're trying to stir up something. It's just lazy. There's no reason to focus on the what ifs when there's so much positive momentum going. This is what happens over 2 years. Like, this is what happens when you do things the right way. Yeah, they failed miserably after the bye in Seattle, all the way down last year. Losing in Carolina was one of the most inept 60 minutes I've ever seen. But when you talk about hot seats in July, it's like, come on, let's be a little bit more creative than that. Let's just, and again, coach of the year or fired, I'm taking coach of the year chances higher than him getting fired. So if that's the case, then why even talk about they win 6 games? It's like, okay. And if they do, sure, we can 100% have the conversation. I'm not saying he's bulletproof, but I'm also saying, come on, man. Jalen Hurts, he has a chance to be the 22nd best quarterback if all these things happen. It's like, who cares? Like, let's be adults here. It's the same kind of thing to me.
Are you into being an adult?
You know what it reminds me of? It's and I hate to even compare it to the Philly situation, but it was the year, I don't remember what, I might have still been playing this year, but it was when Nick Sirianni, they had won maybe, I don't know how many games they won. I could have still been playing, but they had a winning record the prior year. And Nick Sirianni was getting questioned about whether his job was on the line. And it was around the same time going into training camp, beginning of the season. and they end up, having a great year the following year. I think they're just the Cardinals are in that same position. Obviously, haven't, made the playoffs or things like that. But it's one of those things where if you win, it takes care of itself. The conversations don't happen. It is a little early to be talking about it, but that's just the reality of the business. Like, they come out and they go 2-4 the first, 6 weeks of the season. All hell's going to break loose. But, we just got to see how it plays out. I think because they haven't been what we expect them to be, the conversations naturally happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think Nick Sirianni is Cliff Kingsbury with a GM that went for it. Like, I don't think Sirianni's a dude that's like they lost. So that was after their Super Bowl loss, I think, when Hurts fumbled late, and it's like is he the dude? And then they lose Steichen and Gannon, and it's like the heart of that team is gone. And yes, how Howie Roseman went from a relic to a dude who's the best GM in football. Like Steve Keim could have had that same journey. Like Howie Roseman was on his way out. And then they just like, you know what? We're going to just spend all of the Lurie's money. We're just going to do all of it and bring everybody in. That's Cliff. It would have been – Cliff was good enough to do what Sirianni is doing if he had the blueprint to do it. So I agree with you saying it's just a little off. But, yeah, Kyler, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. We're getting close to the camp coming to the fold, and I think we're like 2 weeks away. So let's start getting into some conversations. Apparently, Clancy's got some strong opinions on this. He did this. He did this kind of spiel earlier, and then my guy Jamil will be able to weigh in on should the rookies just automatically get the starting role if it's close. We'll talk about specifically the middle linebacker position, Akeem Davis-Gaither versus Cody Simon. Let's talk about it all next. All right. Moving on. The Arizona Cardinals have a flurry of camp competitions, and we've got a few. A cornerback position, maybe again they bring in another kicker. They love to do that. But what's really intriguing at this point is the Arizona Cardinals middle linebacker position, or call it whatever you want at this point. It's got a few different hybrid roles at this time in the NFL. And we all know Mack Wilson Sr. is probably going to be in there, but either way, Akeem Davis-Gaither is also going to be in the middle. Or I'm sorry, King Davis-Gaither and Cody Simon are going to be fighting over who will be in the middle there, likely calling the plays as well. Clancy, I'll let you start. Why do you think Cody Simon should be the guy over Akeem Davis-Gaither? Because I know that's where you're at here.
I mean, here's the thing. For me, if it's a tie, play the rook. I mean, and you can't do that with every roster. They've got enough insulation to allow him to kind of learn at a faster pace. It's probably going to be ADG. I mean, I would assume it's going to be him because that's just what is Monty Osfort, Jonathan Gannon done in successive off seasons. Kazir White, which was the easy one over Philly, and then Mack Wilson was a little outside the box from New England, and then maybe this is the next one, a cap casualty from Cincinnati because they gave T. Higgins and Jamar Chase all the money in the state of Ohio. But like if it's 50-50, start the kid. Defensive MVP of the national championship game. The dude's an absolute bruiser. I don't care that he's not great in coverage. They've got one of the best secondaries in football. You can mask that. I mean, off-ball linebackers aren't supposed to be the best in coverage. Plus, it'd be flipping fun, man. It'd be so fun. It's just as many Ohio State dudes as you can get on the field. They seem to be ready to rip pretty much right away from what we've seen the last couple of years. I mean, Jamil, like, let me ask you with that. Like,
yeah,
offensive line's tough because dudes are either like it's tougher because there's the learning curve from dudes who are going into first period French on Monday after playing football on Saturday to 350-pound dudes. Like it's different. Like I feel like with the space and Mack Wilson being by his side, the learning curve may not be as steep for the rook, but I don't know. I just would like to see him start week 1 with the green dot.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. You know, like you said, Ohio State guys are ready. They're primed and ready to go from a standpoint of playing ball. I think when it comes to the person that's wearing the green dot and communicating to the defense, I'm going to go with the veteran first. And that's not to say that I'm going to stick with that the whole time, but I want my young guy to be able to kind of mix in certain packages and just kind of see where his instincts kind of lead him. But I'll go with the veteran just from the standpoint of experience, man, just seeing certain things and reacting and kind of getting my young guy primed and ready to go. Obviously, we know he's capable of playing at the NFL level, but I don't want to just throw him into the mix and kind of see where his confidence may go. I kind of want to build him up. That's just a standpoint I would take.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, a couple weeks into the season, 3-4 weeks into the season, you turn him loose and let him play and see how he affects the defense.
Jamil, give us a little bit of insight, because I'm personally curious about this. You've been in a bunch of different camp competitions, whether it's second string, third string, first string, offensive lineman positions. What is that like, knowing you might be buddies with the dude that's next to you, but you're trying to beat him out for a job, or even you're the vet and you're trying to beat out the young guy for the job? Like, I don't even know where to really go with it. Just what is it like? Take us through the lens of that.
It's not easy at all, especially from a standpoint.
Oh, really?
Especially from a standpoint of offensive line, like, because you're so dependent on your guys doing the job with you. So that group is such a close-knit group. But at the end of the day, you understand that, like, the guy you're playing next to, you may be playing his position the next day, you know? So it's not easy at all. But the part that is good about it is typically players understand, hey, if I'm on number one on the depth chart, I know that someone has to be behind me regardless. Like, players understand the nature of the game. So they don't hold it against each other. But it is tough from a standpoint of just, you want to be, you know, the best teammate, best player you can be, but you also understand the nature of the business.
Yeah.
Have you ever had sorry. I was going to say, have you ever had a rook who just came in where you're in the third, second string role and they're asking for tips and you're teaching? What's that like? Because that's what Akeem, Davis-Gaither, and Cody Simon are going through.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now. So when I was in Tennessee, I had spent 2 years there, kind of, you know, starting, being the backup swing guy. I don't know if Aaron Brewer was a draft pick or a free agent, but he came in to play center. But right away, like, I'm like, this guy's he's good. He's good at what he does. Like, he's a young, athletic guy. He has a lot of pop to him. At some point, the writing is on the wall, you know? So, but I took the standpoint of, like, look, I'm going to help the guy out as much as I can, but also, like, I have to take care of my stuff as well. I can't worry about when that opportunity is going to come for him to, quote unquote, take my job. But, like, bro, offensive lineman is different. You have to be a close-knit group. You have to trust the guy. So we did have conversations with each other and talk to each other, and it was never like bad blood when he did end up getting the nod ahead of me. It was just, I understood what it was at that point, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've always wanted to know. I've asked multiple offensive linemen over my career, but I pretend like I don't. How do you guys not get hurt every play? Can we just 30 seconds? Just 30 seconds. Elevator pitch. How the bleep do you guys not get hurt every play?
Hey, I will tell you, majority of the time you do get hurt, but you just get up. You know, like, I think one of my favorite memories of playing in the NFL is Ben Jones, my center for the Titans. Every single game, you would hear Ben Jones yell out, "God bless," and it was usually him getting rolled up on or turning an ankle or something.
Brutal.
And he would just get up and play the next play. But that's just how it is, man. It's there's a lot of bumps and bruises when it comes to offensive line, man.
Yeah. I mean, so Ben, just to, like, bring this in for a landing with Cody Simon, like,
yeah,
the beauty of it is it's an option. If they're there and he's good enough, it's an option. This isn't, I feel bad that I always go back to Marco Wilson. He's a good kid. We interviewed him a few times on the show, but, like, they moved up to get him out of Florida after he threw the shoe. He wasn't ready to start week one. It was him and Byron Murphy, CB1, CB2, and it was a train wreck because they couldn't draft properly. They couldn't develop properly. They couldn't sign properly. This isn't that. So the fact, if they want to take that shot, they're able to at least try it without crippling the entirety of the defense. None of these guys were drafted to save a position group. So you're flexible with it because you've got dudes you can play instead of them. That's the only reason why I brought it up. Like, if it's close, they have the opportunity to do it without cratering the defense.
Yeah, this is one of those things as well, just like kind of carrying this on for a second, is I don't disagree with Clancy. And honestly, in every other position, I would be okay with it. I think every other position, just kind of eyeballing it. That if it's close, I put the rook in. However, Akeem Davis-Gaither isn't necessarily like super old. Maybe he's on the back nine of his career, maybe not, but he's not a super old player. I like Cody Simon. And maybe this is just my own personal trauma. I remember bringing in a rookie linebacker, starting him right away. Granted, these were higher draft picks in Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. And week 1, teams were picking on him. Yeah. And I just don't know, in a season where it does feel like a lot is riding on making the playoffs for a lot of people, including the quarterback, if I would want to put a rookie out there. I think in the middle of the season, there's a really strong point to be made. Like, Cody Simon kind of starts to figure it out. He's kind of, again, the coverage thing doesn't really worry me. You got really good DBs everywhere. I don't know if I want a guy who has to call out the plays. He has to get the play, call it out, and then read ahead of him what the offense is doing, and then kind of start getting guys in position when I just need him to kind of focus on what he needs to do. And then maybe later on the season, we revisit it. But I think at least for now, it's Akeem Davis-Gaither for me. Jamil, what was it like your first season as a rookie? Like, take us in that position. Imagine how, and would it be harder if your job was to also get the play in and tell everyone kind of where they need to be? We're in this coverage. We're in this coverage. Okay. Yeah. We're disguising this here. Like, I guess, like, am I making a solid point here? Or is it just like, no, those two guys weren't very good and that's why they got picked on?
No, 100%. It is tough, man. And I'll speak from my standpoint of having to play center my rookie year and having to get the play calls and getting the O-line on the same page. It is a lot, especially coming from college. Now, granted, Ohio State is they're made for NFL type talent, you know, so their guys are prepped and they're ready to go, but there still is a learning curve from a week to week basis. I think offensive coordinators in the league are so good at being able to see when a linebacker's eyes isn't in the right spot and taking advantage of it. You look at a Sean McVay, like somebody like that is someone who studies these linebackers and kind of predicates his offense off of what these guys do. So there's a learning curve that he's going to have to go through. I think, again, week 3, 4, you turn them loose, let them play, but create a package for them. Let them come in and sprinkle in, 50%, 40% of the time and see how his eyes are and see the kind of plays he makes and then go from there. I think there's nothing wrong with starting the guy out slow and building up. I think when you just dip him in, sometimes the confidence may get shot early and it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only difference between Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons and Cody Simon is, like, Isaiah Simmons never played off-ball linebacker in college. He played, I'm going to run behind Dexter Lawrence, who's going to hug 3 people and allow me to run. He played safety his first year after redshirting. They moved him to linebacker, but he was more of that, he's more of that Tyrann Mathieu at 6'2", 240, just bigger version of. Did whatever he wanted. It was Clemson. They played Pittsburgh 10 times a year. Like, it didn't matter. And then Zaven Collins didn't play a lot of off-ball linebacker either at Tulsa. This is the Hassan Reddick thing all over again. Look at what Hassan Reddick did when they moved him to the right role. Cody Simon is a true off-ball linebacker. So I'd much rather have a less talented dude who knows the position rip instead of the former options of just drafting the best player available and Isaiah Simmons, even though Tristan Wirfs was still there, and going, or CeeDee Lamb, and doing it that way. But I it's an inexact science for sure. So I can appreciate it.
Yeah, I would get that. What I will say is, like, I do think Cody Simon's going to be a dog. Like, the things that you had mentioned before, he was not just the defensive MVP in the national championship game, but he was the MVP in the semifinal game too on the defensive side of the ball. I just cannot remember what bowl that was. I think the guy's going to be great. I just think also the rookie thing kind of scares me. And when you throw someone out there right in the middle of the field and you have a Kyle Shanahan look at him and say, okay, good. We're going to put Ricky Pearsall in the middle, make him have to, or in the slot, make him have to force to be able to at least do something with him in coverage, turn him around and see if I can get someone else open, or George Kittle. Like, that kind of stuff worries me in a season where, like, I'm not really interested in experimenting for now. Okay. Moving on to the last segment of the show, guys. Sauce Gardner just got paid a massive new deal, and it's got some Cardinals fans kind of thinking, what does it mean for Garrett Williams? Let's talk about that next. Finishing up the show, Sauce Gardner, 4-year, $120 million extension. Which honestly, I'm going to be just quick thoughts on this. This is a wild deal given the fact that he is not coming off of his best season, but I guess you pay the dude when he's low as much money as you can. I think it's an inexact science, the word that you had just kind of mentioned before, Clancy, about what this does for Garrett Williams. But the Cardinals have a stud cornerback on their team. He just plays in the slot and no one knows his name. Monty Osfort stole him out of Syracuse after he tore an ACL, picked him up in the 3rd round, and now it feels like they have a gem. He's going to play more in the slot. I guess what would make me ask you, it would make me start with you, Clancy, is like, how does this affect what Garrett Williams is likely going to get next season?
Well, it's weird because he still had – this is early. They didn't have to extend him this early,
Nope.
I don't think. He's only been in the league 2 years, right? So they could have gone 3 more years in theory without extending him. This is what Eagles did with Carson Wentz. This is what the Rams did with Jared Goff. Extension after 2 or 3 years. They didn't want to – they reset the market. It's going to save them a bunch of money in the long run. Garrett Williams is going to make more than this when his contract is up.
Oh,
but
really?
The beauty of this is, in my opinion, the beauty of this is how I see it is, man, you draft well, you extend the players who you drafted, and this is what happens. Yeah, Sauce Gardner doesn't deserve this money after last year, 1,000,000%. But this is going to save them maybe $40 million. Like, who knows? After his, 2 years from now, it could be much more than this. I think it's going to correct things a little bit, but because of the extension early, I don't think it's going to be necessarily this massive shift like we think. But I do think Garrett Williams, if he plays again like he did last year and creeps up there as maybe the best slot corner in the game, he's going to be getting paid for sure.
$120 million.
That's a lot of cheese, man.
You think it'll be in now again? Everyone always says 4 years, $120 million. They let the agency leak that stuff out. It's really 4 years, $90 million, and with incentives to get up to that $120 million. So when you think about it like that, it's a little different. And all NFL money is funny money. But I kind of look towards what Kyler Gordon got with the Chicago Bears, who plays a lot of slot corner, pretty good slot corner. I would wonder if he gets somewhere to what Garrett Williams got. Now, maybe Garrett Williams gets much more than he did. He got 4 years, $30 million. But I think when you're talking about a guy on the outside, it's just different when you have a player that plays more so in the slot. That's why I wasn't super alarmed by this. But that gets me a little worried now, because then you're going to have to start making money decisions. Granted, so what we've been asking for years, draft well and be able to pay your players. Jamil?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sorry, I just dropped my notebook. I think in terms of slot corners, it is interesting because, yeah, the guys on the outside, they deal with different issues as opposed to the guys in the slot. The best slot corner I played with when I was in Buffalo was Taron Johnson.
Yep.
And just a dog from every aspect, came up field, in the run, could play against any receiver, made a lot of plays versus tight ends and things like that. And they paid him, and he was well worth it. He was a game changer on defense. I think the thing that's interesting about the Sauce Gardner contract to me is it's either going to make or break the market. I look at it as when Ezekiel Elliott took that deal from Dallas, and it screwed up the whole market of running backs for a good, 5-6 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just based off of how he had performed post that contract. Sauce didn't have a great year last year. I looked at who they're playing against this year. The first 4 weeks, he's got DK Metcalf, who, hey, it's DK. He can make plays, but you got Mike Evans, CD, and George Pickens, and then you got Tyreek just within the first 4 or 5 weeks. So we're gonna find out, and the conversation is gonna be started very early, because when you get paid that kind of money, you got to travel with the number one receiver, in my opinion. So if you talk about a guy from the slot getting paid number one cornerback money, that means he's got to travel with the number one receiver And that's the interesting piece for me.
But see, and that would be agreed. Like, with that, Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rellis are sickos. Okay. They don't have a scheme that's just a base and they just roll it out. So with that, and you're probably right, he may not get that, especially with that would be more than what Budda Baker, Trey McBride, James Conner, and Josh Sweat all got combined, I think. And I know the guarantees are different and everything, but that's not what Monty Osfort does, okay, at all. He hasn't. So for me, it's like keep your dude and figure it out. It's best player available kind of mentality where if Will Johnson works out and Max Melton emerges as a true CB2 on the outside to go along with Max Melton, who cares? Who cares if you pay him a little bit more to keep him for another 4 years? It doesn't matter. He's going to be a good DB regardless of where he lines up. And yes, the slot thing, but this is what I go back with, premium position. It's not a premium position. You're telling me Budda Baker's not a premium position for the Cardinals? It's one of the biggest cop-outs to me. Oh, off-ball linebacker. Oh, Fred Warner's not a premium position for the 49ers? It's roster to roster. So I don't really think it matters where Garrett Williams plays. If he's the top DB on the team, you pay him as such. And again, Monty's not going to pay people. He's going to New England the hell out of this. This is going to be a New England thing. And if people believe in the product or you want to go get double that and play in Jacksonville and salt away, so be it. That's where the conversation is going to go, just not yet.
It almost leads me to believe, I don't think, no, I think because he's a third round pick. So I don't think Garrett Williams is eligible to get a new contract extension yet. But it leads me to believe that maybe a guy like Monty Osford's smacking his head against the table because he didn't think Sauce Gardner would get paid. Maybe you could pay Garrett Williams early next year and get a deal on him. It is a little concerning because then you start to talk about the bill coming due with this Cardinals team because you paid Trey McBride. You're going to pay Garrett Williams next year. Who knows if the Cardinals have a successful season if Kyler Murray tries to knock down that door again for an extension. I wouldn't say that that's something that's impossible.
That would help the team though, and early because you could just push that down and avoid the hell out of it.
Or you could just do what all the other smart owners do and just turn it into bonus money and funny money, and nothing ever touches the salary cap is such a figment in everyone's imagination. The rich owners do whatever the hell they want, and they can sign bonuses and get them the money that they want to do. And then you got Michael Bidwell, who, listen, I'm not going to tell anyone that they're nickel and diamond people, but he kind of is nickel and diamond people a little bit here when it comes to just giving out signing bonuses in that sort of nature. But it's interesting, man. I would be curious because that is something to really look out for this year for Garrett Williams, where it's he just saw what Sauce Gardner made. He's going to come out with a different mentality this year, which is ultimately good for the Cardinals in the short run. Contract year, saw what Sauce Gardner just got, but I don't know, man. Little worrisome when I saw that 4-year, $120 million deal. I thought it was a typo at first when I got the notification from Bleacher Report.
But again, go ahead, Jamil. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't have anything to say besides the fact of if Sauce Gardner goes out and he balls out, then it's great. But if he goes and he blows it, then now it's kind of gives the leverage back to the GMs to say, corners aren't worth this amount of money, depending on how you operate. So NFL money is funny money. We'll find out if Monty is, one of those guys is no, I believe in this guy. I think he can cover the best receivers out there, and we'll pay him 120 M's, or we'll figure out where he stands as far as, corners.
I mean,
Jamil,
remember,
Garrett
Williams was a fringe first-round pick if he didn't tear his ACL in December. So this is not a dude who's a third-round pick. They got him they got him on the cheap. The one thing I will say, and I try to add some texture and context to this as we have these conversations, this is a great situation to be in. Okay, so these are first world champion problems for NFL teams. The Cardinals didn't speak functionality for decades. This is what functionality looks like. Oh no, they may have to pay the people they drafted because they're so good. Boo-hoo. These are the conversations they're having, and it's nice to see that this is the infrastructure moving forward, even if he doesn't become the best corner. You have a dude that you want to pay that money. You just got to figure it out, as opposed to oh no, who are we going to pay this money to because nobody's good on this team.
That'll wrap us up for today, guys. Be sure to check us out on Thursday. somewhere around 4 p.m. We'll get it nailed down at some point. I'll put the stream up when I know about it. You guys will be able to prep for it. But either way, thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals Squad Show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. As training camps get closer and moves are being made, hosts Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most well-informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate you guys making the Locked On Cardinals Squad Show a part of your day. For Jamil, Alex, myself, Benjamin, we'll talk to you guys